people we project. This total economic catastrophe, the border czar, Kamala Harris, has now been slotted in by the Democrats to be reelected. She wants 4 more years to enforce a radical left agenda that poses a fundamental threat to the prosperity of every American family and America itself. And we're talking about America itself. She wants to defund the police, have totally open borders, ban fracking in Pennsylvania and everywhere else, take away your private health insurance, and perhaps most pertinent to the very brilliant people in this room, raise your business and corporate taxes, and unbelievably, she will seek a tax on unrealized capital gains. Most people don't even know what that means. What does it mean? She has been after all of this for years, and as everyone knows, she is a Marxist who destroyed almost single-handedly San Francisco, and when she was the AG, California itself, not the same place. People are leaving, they're fleeing like they are in New York. She'll seek out and she will try and get those things if she's elected, and she may very well succeed in getting them. She recently said her values have not changed, and these have really been her values for her entire career. Her values haven't changed. That's what she wants. So she told the truth. We're not going to let this happen. Communism is the past. Freedom is the future. And it is time to send Comrade Kamala Harris back home to California, where crime is rampant and fleeing is the #1 occupation. I'm here today to lay out my plan to rescue our country from this nightmare and to bring back to its citizens the American dream, bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. 8 years ago, I came before you as a candidate for president and shared my vision to end the stagnation and return to rapid growth. That's what we did. As president, I am very proud to say that we accomplished something that nobody thought that was even possible. Before the pandemic, real median household income rose by $7,684. And even after the pandemic, annual incomes were up $6,400. The average American household saw a $197,000 increase in real net worth in 48 months. For the bottom 50% of households, average wealth more than doubled, increasing by 121%. Lowest income people benefited the most. After 12 years of decline, we added nearly 7 million new homeowners. Never happened before. And in 3 years, we created 7 million new jobs, 260% more than projected. When I took office, they said you couldn't hit those projections, and we were 260% higher than what we said we could do. From the day I won to the day I left, the S&P 500 increased by 80%, and we did it all with virtually no inflation. We had virtually no inflation. Think of that. Who could believe that? I delivered the largest tax cuts and reform in American history by far, slashing rates for working families and cutting the business tax from the highest in the world. We had the highest in the world, 35%, and actually when you add local and state numbers that were getting close to 50, but much, much higher, nobody's ever seen. We brought it all the way down to 21%, which everybody said was impossible to do. And I heard it from everyone. They said, you'll never be able to do that. And I got it down to 21%. I cut a record number of job-killing regulations. In 4 years, we cut more regulation than any president in the history of our country by far. I'm proud to be the only president in modern history to achieve a net regulatory reduction during my term, and it was a substantial reduction, and for every regulation we added, we cut more than 5.5 regulations. We unleashed American energy, and within 3 years we had increased domestic oil production by 47%, and we were just getting started. The price of gasoline was $1.87 a gallon. Doesn't that sound good right now? We negotiated and renegotiated more than 50 trade agreements with other countries that were taking advantage of us, as they all do, to protect the American worker and to open foreign markets, and we did a great job. I ended NAFTA, the worst trade deal ever made in the history of our country, and replaced it with the USMCA, perhaps the best trade deal ever made in history. That's Mexico and Canada. I stood up to China like no one else before me. No one came even close. And I saved the U.S. auto industry from obliteration with a 27.5% tariff on all Chinese cars that remains in place to this day. They want to take it off, but they can't, because number one, it's too much money, and number two, we would be invaded by Chinese cars on top of the other invasions that are taking place. Without it, our auto industry would be dead. And now I am going further. We will bring our automaking industry to the record levels of 37 years ago, and we'll be able to do it very quickly through tariffs and other smart use of certain things that we have that other countries don't. For 4 straight years, I fought for American workers like I would fight for my own family. I took care of our economy like I would take care of my own company. In every decision I asked, will I create jobs here, or will I be sending jobs overseas? Will it make America richer and stronger, or will it make our country weaker and poorer? I always put America first, every single time. And when our country was hit by the China virus, we saved the economy. We rescued tens of millions of jobs. And after COVID, I handed Kamala and Joe the fastest and strongest recovery ever recorded, nothing even close. With 1.4% inflation, the 30-year mortgage rate was at 2.4%, and the highest stock market in history. This is despite the pandemic. To date, I handed them back the highest stock market to date, after having just suffered with the rest of the world a pandemic, the likes of which nobody had ever seen before. We did an incredible job, and remember, far more people died of COVID under Biden-Harris than under President Trump. Many, many more people. We delivered an economic miracle, which Kamala and Joe turned into an economic disaster, just like they turned the border and indeed the whole world into a catastrophic surrender. Starting on day one, Kamala launched a war on American energy and orchestrated a nation-wrecking border invasion with illegal aliens pouring in from countries all over the world. They came in from countries that nobody ever heard the name of that country. Those countries, from their prisons and jails, there is a difference, from mental institutions and insane asylums, as well as record numbers of terrorists, human traffickers, and sex traffickers. Numbers that we've never seen before taking place over the last 3.5 years. Then Kamala cast the deciding votes on trillions of dollars in wasteful spending, which together with their terrible energy policies gave us the worst inflation perhaps in the history of our country. Nearly 2/3 of the jobs created under the Harris-Biden administration were bounce-back jobs. Bounce back. They were bounce-back jobs that I handed them from before the pandemic. This happens with pandemics. You have bounce-back jobs. The pandemic comes and it goes, and those people go back to their jobs. And just last week, Joe Biden admitted that on social media. I don't know if he knew what he admitted, but that's what it said. I wonder who drew it. Perhaps that person is no longer employed by the Democrats. But right now, it's even worse than that. Under Kamala Harris's policies, 3 million workers are now missing from the job force compared to 2020. 3 million workers, that's a lot. Over 500,000 fewer people have full-time jobs today than just 1 year ago, and 100% of the net job creation in the past year has gone to illegal migrants. Think of that. 100% of the jobs created under this administration